Very good to be with you. So now we're coming in this month of Sagadawa, which is the month where on the full moon the Buddha Shakyamuni was born, gained his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, and passed into Nirvana. And it's a good time to do extra practice if you have some free time. For example, we're doing a lot of planning now for building this small stupa in England. And there's some information of it on the website. And you can offer a little bit to help that project. You can offer €5. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but it's just you include yourself into the Dharma work of our small Sangha. We see that conflict is spreading more and more in the world. On a relative level, the antidote to conflict is to collaborate, to work together. There's a lot of hatred around. And the hatred gives a very strong sense that the other person is real and bad. So this is a very wrong turning for the mind to take. So we need to do our best to stay open for the welfare of others and practice loving kindness towards all sentient beings. Okay, so now I'm going to... So now we can start to look at the questions. We have a lot of questions that we've received. So in the autumn, we'll try to do some half days, just going through a lot of questions. So first question is consciousness and mind the same in Buddhism? Is my mind, which is deluded and has its own habits and tendencies, the same as the mind which is primordial, unborn, and clear? If so, why is the mind, which I call mine, deluded? So that's a good question to begin with. Like, why have I got the wrong kind of mind? So consciousness is how the mind appears under the power of duality. Its structure is subject, verb, object, or subject, object, verb. I think about the weather. There is the weather, something moving in the sky, the temperature changing, clouds, and so on. So when we say weather, it is as if there is something we can apprehend. But of course, the wind is blowing, the clouds are moving, it's not certain if it's going to rain or not rain. When you try to get hold of it, the weather is not a thing. And yet we talk about it as if it's a thing. And this is the same as ourself. I like peppermint tea. That tells you something about me. But of course, I don't always drink just peppermint tea. So sometimes I drink peppermint tea. Sometimes I drink other tea. How I manifest depends on circumstances. And these circumstances are beyond my knowledge and beyond any computation. So consciousness is the mental function that allows us to know things by inventing things. Awareness, or Rigpa, doesn't know things and is not dependent on things. Thingness is an obscuration to the bright, ungraspable immediacy of appearance. So it's not that we have two kinds of mind. The mind itself is intrinsically clear. But if we don't see that clarity, then we grasp onto transient appearances and hold on to them as if they were reliable. This grasping at the object, grasping at the other, is the sign of the limitation of the ego self. So the mind itself is not deluded, just as the sky itself is always clear. But of course, clouds arise in the sky. And when we look at the sky and we see clouds, it is as if the clouds are obscuring the sky. Because we imagine two things. We imagine, oh, a beautiful clear sky, and then these dark clouds which block out the sunshine. But we can't find clouds anywhere but in the sky. Clouds are not other than the sky. They are an aspect of the potential of the sky. The mind has no fixed identity. It has no fixed form. It's not something which is knowable as an object. Thoughts, feelings, memories appear in the mind. They are not other than the mind. They don't displace the mind. Ignorance is how the mind looks when you don't see the truth of the mind. So the traditional example is if you were out walking in the country and you turn your head and you see in the distance, oh, someone is there. As you get closer, you see, oh, it's not a person, it's a scarecrow. But the scarecrow appeared to you to be a person. That was a delusion. It was a mental activity of interpreting what is being seen, but the interpretation creates a deluded or a false notion of what is there. Just as you might suddenly, somebody says something and you feel, I'm really angry. And then, after a while, you're not so angry. I feel really angry is an arising not different from the mind. It is unborn in the way that the mind is unborn. And yet, when we reify it, when we misinterpret it, it appears that my anger is something which is defining me in the moment. So it's not about thinking about the content of your mind, because then you judge some thoughts as happy and some as sad, some as beneficial, some as detrimental. We want to stay with the thoughts and feelings as they arise so that we see how they are. We see that these thoughts have no existence or essence of their own. So unawareness, which develops as dualistic consciousness, is the opaque or obscure mental quality of seeing illusion as if it was something real and truly existing. Your mind itself has never been obscured. And yet functionally, due to reliance on thoughts and feelings as being messengers of truth, we delude ourselves. So the next question, are the explanations about karma and rebirth offered by traditional Buddhism part of a theory or belief, or is it part of experience? Is it under the domain of consciousness or the domain of awareness? Does it make sense to practice Dzogchen without fully accepting these theories? So, from the very beginning, there has been no separation from the ground. Whether you're walking or sitting or eating or singing a song. Your life is a flow of experience. Each moment of this experience is here and now. It wasn't here, then it's here, then it's gone. When we see the self-vanishing of experience, we see, when you go, we see there is no trace. So when you look at the ocean and you see the wave coming up and going down, the wave vanishes. It just vanishes back into the water. It was always water. So when you relax in open awareness, everything which arises, every experience is simply a ripple or a shimmering on this ungraspable, luminous surface of the mind. Nothing has happened. Of course, something has happened. Patterns of experience have happened. But this experience has no existence to it. It's just here and gone. Now, karma occurs when this non-dual awareness is not open to. So then we are in the realm of duality. So I am talking. I am the one doing the talking. As if I am a stable subject that is doing talking. But this talking is situationally evoked. It arises from the meeting or the interface or the contact between what I could call myself and the other, or you, or the computer. I and the world arise together because I am part of the world. Just as thoughts and the pure nature of the mind arise together. But when you have duality, you have this and that. And this is not that, and that is not this. So if I move my hand across in front of me, I feel a slight movement in the air. But the air takes on other shapes and there is no trace. But if I clap my hands, then one hand hits the other, sound arises, and some sensation lingers in my hands. So then I can interpret that the sensation in my hand is a sign that something has happened. The mild pain in my hand is the proof that something really happened. So this is what we see all the time in our life. We are impacted by situations. And they leave a mark, or they alter our phenomenological shape in that moment. So then you might meet someone in the evening and you say, oh, I was really upset this afternoon. Somebody bumped into me. I almost fell over. You're telling them a story. The event happened some hours before. There is no substantial mark of the incident, but it's cooking inside me. I didn't want it to happen. I don't like the fact that it happened. It shouldn't have happened. And all of these reactions compound the event and seem to press it together to give it a density so that it endures through time. So all the teachings on karma, on ethical behavior, on the proper rules of interacting with other people, these are all ways of addressing the fact that the subject is impacted by the object. So That's relative truth or dualistic truth. Two real entities having an interaction, an impactful interaction, this generates both an immediate effect and a lingering consequence. It's very important in the practice of Dzogchen to be aware of karma. Because if you are not abiding in unborn awareness, then you will be arising as a subject, someone who acts and who is acted on. That is to say, the dualistic subject is also the subject of karma. The only way to be free of karma is to rest in unborn awareness. Then, no matter what happens, no matter how impactful it is, nothing has happened. Somethingness is the experience of someone. Awareness is not someone. We don't have awareness. I have one nose and two ears, but I don't have awareness. Awareness is the luminous domain within which the movements of my body and speech are occurring. The diversity of appearance is no proof that these diverse forms are truly existent. Hot is an appearance in emptiness, sharp is an appearance in... Okay, so a thought is an expression of the mind. A sharp knife is an expression of the mind, of experience. If I cut my hand with a sharp knife, there is blood, there is the opening of a wound, there's sensation from the nerves, yet nothing has happened unless I use refined conceptualization to make sense of what occurred. The mother of entities is concept. We think the world, the dualistic world, into existence. This is why liberation is possible. The only thing that imprisons us is our mistaking, our misunderstanding, our misapprehension of what is occurring. And yet, if you don't see, if you don't awaken to the unchanging openness of your own mind, it's easy to get lost in dualistic conceptualization. So karma is not some false theory. It's describing the engine which drives the continuity of samsara. So it's very important for us to be very precise in our body, in our speech, in our thinking, rather than chasing after some thoughts and trying to block other thoughts, which is the endless activity of the ego. If we relax and open, then we find moment by moment there is this and this and this. Just this, gone, here and gone. This is the self-liberation of phenomena. The wave arises from the ocean and goes back into the ocean. It has no life apart from the ocean. Your thoughts, your feelings, your memories, your plans, all of these are movements within the mind. Their life is the vibrant presence of the mind. But when the mind is not seen, then it is as if they are self-existing. So it's very important to know when you slip from non-duality into duality. When you have a strong intention to do something, I will act on that situation. the immediacy of that thought has come and gone. But inside it, if you believe in it, if you're merged in it, then it's as if you're already moving towards the future. Because you are a movement of the mind, arises and vanishes. And when it vanishes, it's gone. So there is no contradiction between understanding how karma functions and the nature of the mind itself. Again and again in the general Buddhist teachings, they talk about the difference between compounded formations like human beings or trees or dogs, and the uncompounded. So if you meet someone and you say, tell me about yourself, they are telling you about their past. They are describing a construct built up through time. The self is compounded, it's composed, it's a patterning which is constituted out of different elements. But awareness is not compounded, it's not built, it's not invented, it's not made by thoughts. So whenever we take ourselves seriously and we think we're saying something important, or we think we are somewhat special people, this is a very useful information that we're lost in duality. We are always freshly arising and freshly vanishing. So, next. What does it mean if a Rinpoche bangs you on the head or gives you a shock? That will depend on the Rinpoche and on you. Things don't have a fixed meaning. You know, monasteries are full of holy books and holy images, but they're only holy for those who believe they're holy. There is nothing holy in a statue of the Buddha. We put the holiness in the statue because the statue is filled with mantras and sacred materials, and then it's consecrated. We have made a piece of metal holy. Amazing. That's incredible. It's something we believe. It's an idea. That's all. The idea is there and then it vanishes. If many people put their belief into the object, it is as if the object is full of these beliefs. So you might think, oh, I need to go on pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. But it's very far away. You could also make some stones in your back garden and call it Mount Kailash. In India, we have the 8 great cemeteries, but they also exist in Nepal and in Tibet because they are names and you can apply the name wherever you want to apply it. It is the mind which is chief. So if you believe that the Lama, the Rinpoche, is a very special person, then you can get the blessing of a very special person. Who is giving you the blessing? Your mind. That's what it is. You have to see your mind makes heaven, your mind makes hell. So if the Lama hits someone on the head and that person has no faith, they might go to a policeman and complain because they have a different belief. That's all. So it's very important to be clear not only what you believe, but how is belief? What is the nature of belief? We know that people have believed in all sorts of demonic practices, burning witches, killing people who belong to a different race or religion. So whether you believe that something is holy or is not holy, it is your mind which is moving. There are no self-existing objects. So then the next question, the luminous mind that we all have, is it also a compounded phenomenon? If yes, how do we know when it is present and when not? This this kind of question is arising from too much thinking. If you approach the Dharma teaching as if it's a philosophical puzzle, then it's easy to develop many possible scenarios in your mind. So you have your mind, you study some Dharma and you say, oh, my luminous mind. You probably didn't say that before you came across some Dharma text. And now you're wondering, is it a compounded phenomenon? Well, before you met Dharma, you also didn't have that kind of idea. So very easy to get more problems from studying Dharma. Because you think then the luminous mind is talking about something. And if I have a luminous mind, how could it also be compounded? If it's an apple, it's not a banana. You can have many, many different thoughts like this. It's probably more helpful to take an idea like a luminous mind and to put yourself in the way of experiencing this luminosity. So you're sitting, just quiet, your senses are open, and different kinds of thoughts and memories come and go. These are patterns of manifestation which are there and then gone. If the mind wasn't luminous, it would just be like an infinite dark night sky. The luminosity of the mind is the flow of experience which arises. None of these moments of manifestation is stable. They vanish by themselves. They don't establish anything. They are not compounded phenomena. But as I was saying with the previous question, the identification of them as a compounded phenomena arises on the basis of believing that your subjective thoughts tell you the truth about the object. In India, there are still places in the forest near Chitrakoot and old pilgrimage places where sadhus, holy men, go to learn how to live in the forest. Because if you know what berries you can eat and what berries you shouldn't eat, you don't need to carry a lot of food with you. So if you know that your mind is always filling and emptying, there's no need to grasp onto certain moments. Because as we have looked many times, moments are unrepeatable. This summer, I'll be going to Portugal to do a retreat in a place I don't know. But I'll also do a retreat in England and in Germany in places I know. But when I go to the place in England or in Germany, I don't know how it will be. I take out of my big heavy rucksack a whole pile of memories and start sticking them onto the places that I see. That is to say, I am obscuring the freshness of the situation in order to confirm to myself that I know something. But if I go to Portugal, I don't know anything about the place, so it'll be what it will be. So now we have a question. Have I ever been here before? In terms of the phenomenological actuality, I have never been here before. But in terms of my conceptual elaboration, my maps, my memories, my histories, I construct a here which I can return to. Knowledge obscures the freshness of the moment. Presence or awareness is not the same as a vast knowledge base. Information only has meaning in the moment that it's viable, that it's functioning. So the luminous mind is obscured by the gluing together of elements of the past, the present, and the future to compound, to create an artificial image of myself and my world. So it's very helpful to remember that our guiding principle is let's see. So when we let's see means however it is, we will be there and then we'll see how it is. This brings us close to the ungraspable immediacy of this moment. But once we reify moments and start to build on them, we compound obscurational veils as if they were sites of truth. So, next question. Can a mind involved in conceptual elaboration ever generate compassion or loving kindness? Well, there is dualistic compassion and non-dual compassion. I wish the best for you. Well, that will be my idea of what is the best. May you have a long life. If you say that to a person who is suicidal, is that compassion or simply the projection of your ego self-referencing? Oh, essentially, compassion, or in Tibetan they call it ninje or tukje, which means a kind of noble heart or a self-transcending heart, one which is not limited. Oh, who shall we help? When the world is full of divisions of friends and enemies, should I help my enemies as much as my friends? We see the political positioning with regard to the various wars that are occurring, and they are full of bias leading to terrible cruelty. You are unworthy of my compassion because you are a terrorist. So there we see the conceptual elaboration, the definitive statement about the status of the other, they are a terrorist, becomes the reason for me not to care about them. And as we know, friends become enemies and enemies become friends. And friend and enemy are both concepts. So as long as we are relying on concepts, our capacity to feel profound compassion will be limited. The flow of compassion is inseparable from awakening to the empty nature of all phenomena. So next part of this question is, right mindfulness is one aspect of the Eightfold Path. What are instances of wrong mindfulness? So if I want to rob a bank, then I'm going to be watching when the workers arrive in the morning, who holds the keys, and so on. I'll be looking to see when does a fresh supply of cash, of currency come to the bank. Well, that's a kind of mindfulness. It's very attentive to the details. But because the motive behind it is for me to win and the bank to lose, it's a wrong or an unethical use of mindfulness. And we know that in some armies, the soldiers who are the snipers, who do long distance shooting of people. They practice mindfulness and breath control. Well, this question ends, how do I guard against wrong mindfulness? And the best way to do that is to develop the bodhisattva vow. And you keep including all the people who, from your cultural point of view, your gender point of view, you wouldn't want to help particularly. You put them to the front and give them more help. So, for example, if you're taking refuge and you visualize a refuge tree with the Buddhas and the holy Dharma books and so on, then you imagine that your friends are behind you and your enemies are in front of you. This means that when the blessing flows from the Buddha to you, it comes to your enemies before it touches you and your friends. So that's a relative truth attempt to deconstruct the logic that says I should help my friends and be careful with my enemies. There are no self-existing entities. And therefore, the qualities that we attribute to seeming entities are not intrinsic in them. When it is our own mind that says, this is a good person, I like them. This is a bad person, I don't like them. So what will I know about anyone? Well, you don't need to know a lot about people. Otherwise, you're just projecting some history, some cultural narrative. All experience arises here and now, empty and unborn, inseparable from the ground. So the next question is, in the white R practice, can we eventually include a Padmasambhava visualization? With the three colors, the ball that radiates white light and drops into our heart, etc. Or the practice of visualizing the tube that goes from the crown of our head to the perineum and then expands. Well, due to the influence of Japanese cultural sensibility, there is in the world of design a notion that you can have a minimalist setting where the purity of the line of the wood involved in the room and the floor and so on is sufficient. So in a room like that, you might have a small table, and on it you have a very simple glass vase, and in it you have one flower. And that one flower is every flower. So there is an authenticity to that aesthetic. But we also have these buildings, Rococo or Baroque buildings with endless gilt and swirling shapes and colors. So the Tantra is Baroque. It's too much and too much and too much. So why would you want to put some huge armchairs covered in shining velvet into a Zen sitting room? Very often, less is more. So if you're doing the 3R practice, that's enough. And if you're doing Padmasambhava practice, that's enough. But mixing them together will just bring a headache. Okay, so the next question links with this. Some couple are writing this. We have some experience within the Theravada and Zen traditions. Now we start to explore Dzogchen. What would you recommend? Pointing out instructions, initiation, long-term retreat. This is like a discussion of menus. I've experienced German cooking. and also some Italian cooking. But now we want to explore the Dzogchen kitchen. What would you recommend? For Dzogchen, you start with yourself. You have a mouth and a tongue. You know what you like. Some people like sweet things, some people like savory, salty things. It's not that there is an objective Dzogchen. Dzogchen is a way of being. So you have to find the rhythmical harmony between how you are and the teachings. Dzogchen shows you the original simplicity of how you are. So you have to start to get to know your mind. Now, you have a mind, but your mind at the moment is suffused with many habit formations and tendencies. So, if possible, rather than thinking, what do I need to do? What is my path? What are the stages I have to follow? You take up a very simple practice. I would recommend this Guru Yoga of the White R. And it's like a shoehorn. It helps you slip into this new aspect of your experience. Then, sitting with your mind, with the thoughts that come, the feelings, the sensations, we practice hospitality. We give them space. Come as you come. You don't have to alter yourself to come. Now, this is very different from the usual egoic positioning. However my mind is, it is my mind. But of course, the ego's commentary is, yeah, but there are many things I don't like. I don't want to have nightmares. I don't want to think about these bad things I've done. Because some things are really bad. And I struggle with my habits. So if you can stay with your mind and you experience these kind of interpretive structures arising, then, what is occurring and my commentary actually have very little in common. My commentary is trying to establish what is happening. But when I stay simply open and relaxed, I see how these transient events are occurring. So the first thing, the most basic and important thing, is to move from an orientation concerned with what to a being present with how. And in order to do that, the pointing out instructions are very helpful. But it's advisable not to be too hopeful. It's not a magical formulation whereby everybody instantly awakens. We see, we get some sense of an openness, but we ourselves are drawn towards closure. I am me and I am not you. If you start from this dualistic position, Dzogchen is impossible. But if we say, I am always somewhere. So, although I can think the world starts with me, I exist. I'm here. But I'm here with furniture, with bookshelves, with piles of papers and things. I'm here with my world. Not many people would want to live in my world because it's too much paper, and even I don't know what's on the paper now. But I relate to this. The fact that there are many projects arising at the same time is a field that I move in. That is to say, I and my world are inseparable. I and my world are co-emergent. I experience myself. I experience my world. Self and world are experiences. The experiencer of these experiences is not a person, not a thing. This is the fresh awareness of the mind. What it experiences is the shimmering luminosity of ceaselessly arising and passing moments, always vanishing, always vanishing. So in this situation, it is by letting go of all that we have accumulated that we find the space to see how we are. Don't tell yourself who you are, what you have to do. Don't tell the world that it should be this way and not that way. Opinions seem to illuminate what is going on, but what they give is a very limited or partial illumination. The intrinsic luminosity of the mind is not an opinion. Opinions are cumulative. We have situations, we interpret the situation, and we build up our belief on the basis of them. Okay, so lastly, is there a practice that can be used to improve someone's situation? How would this work? Well, what our situation is not a fixed thing. Oh, I still have these aspects of cancer. I have cancer. That's my situation. This involves things like giving blood samples and having tests and so on. Is it good or is it bad? It's a great reminder that I'm going to die. A reminder that allows me to appreciate the transient nature of experience more and more. Is it bad? Well, if I think that death is some kind of punishment, because I've been living with the fantasy that I'm going to live forever, then along comes death to steal my life. Then I could be very worried or anxious. So our situation is not a thing. It is not an objective reality. It's an experience. And with experience, we can be strongly dualistic or relax into a more non-dualistic appreciation of the nature of experience. So don't come to conclusions about your life. Be careful if you have a habit of comparing and contrasting your life with other people's lives. Someone may have a lot more money than you, but also have a depression that makes them feel terrible and unable to enjoy life. All identities, all situations are interpretations. They are attempts to work out what is going on. So we just tilt this very slightly to see, how is it? How lets us stay with the flow? What freezes the flow into blocks of ice which have taken on a shape? So whenever you feel burdened by some terrible feelings about the world and politics and all of these things, just see, these are thoughts. There are many difficult forces operating in the world, but we don't need to be under their power. These are patterns of emptiness. If you see the empty, unborn nature of each and every phenomena, you are present in natural freedom. So basically, We try to love everyone, all living things, all sentient beings. The limit of infinite love is the finite nature of judgment. So if we stay with the flow of immediacy of contact, there is no basis for reification. But it is so tempting for us to solidify the situation. So if you like dancing, maybe you go to a place where they play amazing music and you're dancing with someone. And there's a synergy between the music, how they move, how you move. It's very tempting at the end to say, oh, you're a really good dancer. Who are you addressing? You had this moment, how you are, how they are, and the music. It was arising and vanishing. No need to solidify. No conclusion. Because we don't know if they're always a good dancer or whether you could always dance with them. So this is what we can observe in ourselves again and again, how there is the lightness of the immediacy of the co-emergent interaction and then the heaviness of the definitive conclusion. So now the time has vanished. Where has it gone? Where have we gone? Have we gone anywhere? So in life, stay with the openness as much as possible. So many thanks to our translators, to Pedro for organizing the recording and the machines. Perhaps I meet some of you face to face in the various retreats in the summer. But as much as possible, the key is just keep it simple. Mental activity, trying to understand what is going on, is not going to bring bright illumination. Rather, it's likely to bring a solidification of our experience. So, pleasure to be with you for a little time, and hopefully we meet again. And I hope your Dharma practice and study goes well. And we send out the rays of light to soften the hearts of the cruel people who are endangering the whole peace of the world at the moment. We see, you just put on the media and you see these bodies everywhere, the number of children killed. And now the glorious government of Britain is saying we are going on a war footing. We are preparing for war, as if this was something marvelous rather than a sign of profound stupidity. War means killing, mutilation of bodies, suffering, destruction. But many people get excited at the prospect of war. So in this blessed month of Sagadawa, we should pray for peace to enter into the heart of all those who are full of bitterness and hate. So, I say goodbye. Bye for now. Ciao. Bye.
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 Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wish you all
Bye
the
bye
best.
bye.